We are here in Studio 47, coming to you live from Washington. Now, Professor Ayittey, you know as well as I do that President Obama has been sworn into office 4 times during his 2 terms. That is compared to FDR, who was elected 4 times. What a coincidence.
Indeed, it is, you know. I'm not sure whether we can draw any historical, significance from that, but, it shows you that sometimes, accidents can happen in history, and it's perhaps, it's a sign that Obama might, rise up, to the level that, FDR, took.
What about the fact that it is Obama and Bill Clinton, a man, of course, that was referred to by a lot of African Americans as the first black president? These are the only 2 presidents, by the way, that have been sworn on a Martin Luther King Jr. holiday.
Yes, there is the religious aspect of this, and that is, within the religion itself, there is a difference between Puritanism and evangelicalism, and those who are evangelical, insist that all of us, our destiny is in the hands of God, and whereas the Puritans, believe that at least, we sort of have some responsibility to shape our destiny. And this is more in line with what Dr. Martin Luther King, indicated. And therefore, it is, appropriate for Obama to choose those 2 Bibles to swear an oath of office, to indicate that at least, even though there are certain, truths, handed to us by God, to a large extent, we can also shape our destiny in terms of the acts that, we perform or do today.
You're talking, of course, about Abraham Lincoln's Bible.
Yes.
Of course, you know that Abraham Lincoln, like Obama, they both come from the state of Illinois, the great state of Illinois.
Yes, I know.
Let me ask you this question, actually. I should have gone to Emira, but I'll put this to you because guess what? It comes to a country called Ghana. There is a gentleman by the name Eric Dodson from Ghana, and he says the inauguration was superb, colorful, and splendid. Surely, my country, Ghana, is steadily following the footsteps of the United States. Your reaction to that?
Well, the last time you and I were on the program, there was an election, on December 7th, and one of the things, and there was a dispute over the election. There are cases before the Ghana Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has not ruled on this yet. And one of the things which I like to commend the Ghanaians for is that they have, been very, very patient. They have been calm. They are waiting the results of the Supreme Court. They haven't taken to the streets to protest. You and I know, we all know that, that kind of street protest can very easily escalate into violence. Thankfully and mercifully, we have avoided that. So everybody is waiting for the Supreme Court, to make a ruling.
Emira, given what we experienced here in the year 2000, we're talking about Florida. Don't you think that Eric has a point? Eric from Ghana?
Well, I just think the Ghanaians have to be commended. Let's remember, even the last elections in Ghana that brought Mills to power was contentious, went to a 3rd round, but remained peaceful.
In fact, the difference was 45,000 votes.
Unbelievable.
This one is more than 300,000 votes.
We have to acknowledge the institutions that have been established. The Electoral Commission in Ghana that has really respected the rule of law and helped to reassure people that their vote could be cast freely, fairly, and would be counted fairly. So I think there are institutions in place that have to be commended, and the fact that the Supreme Court is now waiting to give its ruling, I think it is a process that underscores the importance of democracy, of the will of the people being heard, and of popular participation across the board. So the Ghanaians have to be commended. I don't even know if the same could have been said of the U.S. had it had to go to a third round in 2000 or any time since. I think we have to acknowledge also the technical changes, where biometrics are being used in Ghana in a way that is used in very few elections. So some say it's controversial, but some see it as advances needed for this 21st century to make sure that the voice, the vote of people can be accurately assessed, counted, and really acknowledged in terms of the governing process.
But I think that the American people also ought to be commended in 2000 because the government was not changed by a coup. It was by one of their democratic institutions, the Supreme Court.
Yes, by the Supreme Court, but I think, clearly things would have been completely different had there been a President Gore in the United States over this last decade. And so I think, the course of history is often determined by these types of instances. And so it is important that institutions can be seen as respecting the will of the people, reinforcing the rule of law, and that those institutions can be respected by all.